telling you about it? How about I show you? You will be inlaid upon this statue. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Johnny, and welcome to another Genshin Impact video. In today's video, since one of the coolest and best characters is getting her first rerun, Raiden Shogun, let's review her kit and playstyle to determine if she's gonna be worth the investment in version 2.5. With so many new characters on the horizon, saving and preserving Primogems is more important than ever, so this video will help players determine if they should pull for the Raiden Shogun. Before we do jump into it, guys, if you do like the video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. This will greatly help our channel to grow and help with the YouTube algorithm and recommend the video to other viewers. Now, without any further ado, let's jump right into it. With the release of version 2.5, the Raiden Shogun, or A, received her second character chapter quest. Throughout both chapters, you really see the growth of the Raiden Shogun. As someone who's been searching for eternity for basically an eternity, her views on the subject have really changed. But you know what hasn't changed though? Her broken powers! Raiden Shogun is a spear user who wields the electro element. With the electro element, she has access to the electro resonance. On top of being affected by hydro for 40% less time, whenever you trigger superconduct, overloaded, or electro charge, it'll generate a small amount of electro energy. Personally, I'm not really a fan of this resonance as much as the other ones like Cryo or Pyro, because this resonance can limit your party members to those that can trigger these reactions. If you're running characters like Xingqiu or Xiangling, then it's great because you're always gonna trigger reactions. But if you're like me who's running Yamiko and Raiden Shogun, best duo by the way, along with the Geo Archon Zhongli and the Animal Archon voice holder Sucrose, then you won't receive the benefits from the electro resonance. However, even without this resonance, the Raiden Shogun won't have any issues battering herself and the team. Her Ascension stat is Energy Recharge, which will play an important role in her kit. Like other characters at level 90, she'll get a total of 32% Energy Recharge. Moving on to talents, her normal attack talent is just a basic 5-hit combo. The multipliers are pretty decent, but normal attack isn't something that you'll find yourself doing too much of. Her elemental skill, Transcendence Baleful Omen, on the other hand, is where it all starts to come together. When cast, Raiden Shogun will deal AoE electro damage to nearby opponents, but also grants nearby party members the Eye of Stormy Judgment. The Eye of Stormy Judgment has two effects. The first one is when characters deal damage to opponents. The Eye will launch a coordinated attack and deal AoE electro damage. This is very handy for characters who need to apply electro onto the enemy, like Eula, who is a cryo-physical damage dealer, which will help her trigger superconduct. The ability to also launch coordinated attacks while being off-field is just always great in my book. The second effect will serve more as a buff because it will increase the character's elemental burst damage based on the energy cost of their elemental burst. What this means is characters with a high energy cost, like Xingqiu and Xiangling, will now deal more damage. Normally, having high energy cost is a bad situation to be in because it'll generally take longer to build their burst. But with the Eye of Stormy Judgment, this will turn a bad situation into a better one because it will benefit characters with high energy cost by boosting their damage. The Eye can be initiated once every 0.9 seconds, but get this, the duration lasts 25 seconds with a mere cooldown of 10 seconds. This is so good, and basically means it has a 100% uptime because you can continuously refresh it. And trust me, the Shogun will see more daylight than every 25 seconds. At talent level 9, the skill damage is 199.2%, and every coordinated attack will deal 71.4%. The elemental burst damage bonus is also 0.30% per energy, so characters with an energy cost of 80 will gain 24% elemental burst damage. Like, this is already insane! With the current meta, there are so many characters that are reliant on their burst for damage output. For those characters, increasing burst damage will just further boost their damage, making your overall team stronger. The Raiden Shogun's elemental skill is a full package because it offers off-field DPS, which allows for more damage without consuming time on the field, all while buffing the party's burst damage. It's also a great method for afflicting enemies with Electro. Additionally as well, each time the Eye of Stormy Judgment hits an enemy, it'll generate particles, making it a great ability for gaining some energy. With all these effects, it's most certain an ability for enemies to fear. But what her enemies should fear most, and what the Raiden Shogun is known far and wide across Tibet, is the Musou Hitotachi. Rather than telling you about it, how about I show you? You will be inlaid upon this statue. Her elemental burst, Secret Art Musou Shinsetsu, is actually my favorite burst in the game, and for many reasons as well. If the amazing burst animation didn't convince you, hopefully its effect will. The elemental burst is quite lengthy, but we'll break it down so it's easier for players to understand. The Musou Hitotachi is a very strong single attack that will strike down her foes with AoE electro damage. After casting the Musou Hitotachi, the Raiden Shogun will wield her Musou Ishin, which is that modified looking sword right there. While in the Musou Ishin state, her normal charge and punching attack will be converted to electro damage and cannot be overridden. Each time she hits an enemy with one of those 3 attack types, she'll generate energy for the party, which can be triggered once every 1 second, activating a total of 5 times throughout the skill's duration. So already, the Raiden Shogun's elemental burst has a unique mechanic because she enters a new state to further boost your party's energy. Because of her elemental skill and burst, she becomes a battery queen, and trust me, one that does damage as well. In addition, her resistance to interruption is increased as she swings her legendary sword and will become immune to electro charge reaction damage. While active, the Raiden Shogun's normal, charge, and plunging attacks will also be converted to elemental burst damage. Holy Archon, take a note of this, because this is what really makes her damage skyrocket. There are artifacts and weapons that will synergize really well with her, but we'll touch base on those later as we get to those sections. We're not done with her elemental burst just yet, so let's continue on. During the Musou Ishin state, try not to swap the Raiden Shogun out unless you absolutely have to, because the effects of Musou Ishin will be cleared if she leaves the field. She also has another interesting and unique effect called Chakra Desiderata, which will gain stacks when characters outside the Raiden Shogun use their elemental burst. The amount of stacks gained will be dependent on the energy cost of the burst itself for each character, but the max stacks it can hold is 60, and it will leave behind this really cool effect on your active character. The stacks will be lost if the Raiden Shogun is active on the field for 300 seconds. Don't worry, I did the math for you guys. Which is 5 minutes and something I don't really think players have to worry about. Unless you AFK. Whoa, hey Johnny, come back here. You mentioned that it was a unique mechanic and how to gain stacks, but what does it do exactly? Get ready because you won't see this coming. It'll boost burst damage. Whether it's her killer Musou Hitotachi technique or just wielding the Musou Ishin in combat, both will have their damage increase when stacks are consumed. The Musou Hitotachi at talent level 9 already has a base multiplier of 681%, and her normal, charge, and plunging attacks have separate multipliers, which again is considered elemental burst damage in this state. To further boost all these values is just scary in its own right. The result bonus will boost her damage with a base value of 6.61%, and then additional stacks will increase it by 1.23% of attack damage. You also gain 0.19 stacks per energy consumed. As another example, if an elemental burst of 80 is consumed, it'll generate 15.2 resolve stacks towards the Chakra Desiderata. Musou Ishin's duration does last 7 seconds with an 18-second cooldown and generates 2.4 energy for the party with each hit. The downtime of 11 seconds might sound concerning, but trust me, it's not that bad because you'll constantly keep cycling between characters. I actually find myself using this burst quite often. As I mentioned before, the Raiden Shogun's elemental burst is my favorite because it contains everything in a burst that a player could just possibly want. Insane burst animation, high damage, battering the team, all of these combined just turns it into an S tier burst because while she's on the field with Musou Ishin, she'll still deal damage. To add to the cherry on top, I really like how her auto attack animation also gap closes onto targets during the state. It feels very fluid and can zip around the battlefield. Next, let's move on to her passive. For her Ascension 1 passive, Wishes Unnumbered, when nearby party members gain elemental orbs or particles, Chakra Desiderata will gain 2 resolve stacks and can occur once every 3 seconds. Overall, a pretty good passive that makes it easier for party members to help the Raiden Shogun gain resolve stacks, and in return, boosts her burst damage, but the one that players are going to be excited about is her next one, which is just see for yourself. The Raiden Shogun's Ascension 4 passive, Enlightened One, makes it so every energy recharge that's over 100%, which is just the basic value that every character starts with, will gain the following effects. 0.6% greater energy recharge restoration from Musou and 0.4% electro damage bonus. Okay, this is just a crazy passive. If you have 200% energy recharge, then you're gaining 40% electro damage bonus because you'll gain 0.4% from the extra 100% energy recharge. It also pushes the Raiden Shogun to, forget Battery Queen, more like a Battery Goddess. Again, her Ascension stat provides 32% energy recharge, which means she'll naturally already provide more energy for the team and gain electro damage bonus just for leveling up. Her Elemental Burst does cost 90 energy to use, which is definitely high, but with a bunch of energy recharge, this energy cost will mean little to nothing because you'll constantly keep getting your Elemental Burst back in a blink of an eye. Because of this, energy recharge stance is really good on her as you gain electro damage. Depending on your overall amount of energy recharge, players can get away without even using an electro goblet and can use an attack goblet instead, making her more flexible to build. Now lastly, for Exploration passive, All Preserver. This will reduce the Mora cost when ascending swords and polearms by 50%. This one is cute because All Preserver, she's preserving her Mora? Despite her using a polearm as her main weapon, Musou is a sword. The Raiden Shogun is someone that excels in both the arts of the polearm and sword, so it's nice that Hoyoverse threw both weapon types into this passive. Since we're on the topic of weapons, let's move on to that next. There's a lot of weapons that can work on the Raiden Shogun, so we'll display them here on screen. As a character that still deals damage, it's important to balance out your crit stats, which means running crit rate or crit damage weapons is going to be great to maintain that 1-to-2 ratio. Likewise, because she has energy recharge scaling, an energy recharge weapon is also a great option for her. If you're leaning more towards high damage output, then I would recommend one of the crit stat weapons. But if you want her to be more balanced between battering the team and damage, then I would recommend an energy recharge weapon. However, the two weapons I think players will mainly want to look at are the 4-star F2P option, the Catch, and her own 5-star weapon, Engulfing Lightning. The Catch is a very budget-friendly weapon because players can get the Spear to Refinement 5 for free. It'll just take some time to fish. At level 90, the Spear will provide 45.9% energy recharge as a secondary stat. Its weapon passive will also increase Elemental Burst damage by 32% and Elemental Burst crit rate by 12%. This is hands down the best F2B weapon thus far because it's a great weapon for Spear users who rely on Elemental Burst damage, especially for the Raiden Shogun and Xiangling. The 12% crit rate for the Elemental Burst is an added bonus as well because it may help some players with crit rate. For those of you who want to go above and beyond though, then Engulfing Lightning would be the best investment. Similar to the Catch, this weapon provides a secondary stat of energy recharge. At level 90, it'll provide 55.1%. For the weapon passive, attack will be increased by 28% of energy recharge over base 100. However, it is limited to 80% bonus attack. You'll also gain 30% energy recharge for 12 seconds after using your burst. Why this weapon is so amazing is because it'll promote having higher energy recharge, which is something the Raiden Shogun also relies on. It basically serves as a mini Shogun Ascension 4 passive, but instead of giving electro damage, it provides attack. Unless you're loaded with Primogems though, I do what her Exploration talent does and, well, preserve. As great as this weapon is and how amazing it looks on her, if you don't mind the Catch's appearance, then I would just stick with the F2P option because the damage increase isn't a must. For artifacts, this will be very simple. Emblem of Severed Fate. Done! Okay, seriously though, this artifact set was made for her. Its 2-piece increases energy recharge by 20%, and the 4-piece is a powerhouse effect for anyone with high energy recharge, because it'll increase elemental burst damage by 25% of energy recharge, which doesn't exceed 75%. Remember when we said to make note of her Musou being converted to burst damage? Yeah, this increases it too! Normal attacks with Musou are important because it's what enables the Raiden Shogun to batter the team. Therefore, increasing its damage will be beneficial for time spent on the field. The Musou Hitotachi already has a high multiplier. Increasing it any further would just make her even scarier, especially since she has the Chakra Desiderata to already boost overall burst damage. If you pair the Catch with the Emblem of Severed Fate set, then you'll have yourself an endgame Raiden Shogun. At this point, you just need to worry about artifact stats. There are a couple of mix and match that can work with her as well. The 2-piece is good overall for characters that need to get their burst quicker. You also have the 2-piece from Noblesse, which will increase burst damage by 20%. Because she also does electro damage, 2-piece Thundering Fury is a good option as well, which increases electro damage by 15% and applies to her elemental skill. But do yourself a favor and just get the 4-piece emblem! Personally, I think this is the best artifact set and the safest domain for anyone to farm because there are so many top tier characters that use the set. 2-piece Shimenawas is something that characters often use as well, which increases attack by 18%. So overall, a very good investment with your resin. Finally, for team comps. When building a team, you generally want to see who you're building the team around. Because of the Raiden Shogun's utility and damage, she can honestly go anywhere. Because her role is to battery the team while dealing damage, and who doesn't want that? However, if we had to handpick her best in slot team, it would be Raiden Shogun, Xingqiu, Xiangling, and Bennett. Immediately, you have access to the Pyro Resonance. Bennett will serve as your buffer and healer, while Xingqiu and Xiangling will provide off-field DPS. Though you'll be cycling through characters, the Shogun would technically be considered your main DPS. Xingqiu and Xiangling have a burst cost of 80. If you tie this back to the Raiden Shogun's elemental skill, which buffs burst damage based on their energy cost, then both characters will deal increased damage. Also, because of their high energy cost, they'll help the Raiden Shogun gain more resolve stats for her chakra Desiderata. With this team, Shogun will help the other characters shine as they help her shine, but the team that I'll be using is the triple Archons with the newly released Yai Miko. Guys, I'm working on Venti. The triple Archons being on the same team just seems really cool, but again, the Shogun can go on just about any team, so run your favorite team just as I'm doing with mine, and you'll be A-okay. Now, finally comes the question, should you pull for the Raiden Shogun? If Raiden Shogun is one of your favorites, then heck yes. If you want a character that can support your team while dealing high burst damage and off-field DPS, then heck yes. You really can't go wrong with pulling on the Raiden Shogun because in some sense, she's really set up for success. In Genshin, the biggest power spikes are without a doubt weapons and artifacts. Since the catch is obtainable for anyone, weapons aren't something you have to be concerned about. There are also certain characters that don't have a dedicated artifact set. With Shogun, this will not be the case because the Emblem of Severed Fate set was built for her, which means you have a clear direction on how to build. Since she has energy recharge scaling, she'll be easier to build as well, though you may want to focus on the stat because of all the added benefits. Overall, look at your team and see what you need, but I do highly recommend players to pull on the Raiden Shogun because of the amount of support and damage she can supply. If you guys have seen our Are They Worth It video for Zhongli, then you'll know I rated Zhongli as a top tier support, but not necessarily mandatory. However, for the Raiden Shogun, I can't really say that because I do strongly believe that every single account should at least attempt to pull for her. As a character, the Shogun's overall design just makes so much sense. From her elemental skill buffing party's burst to the party providing resolve stacks for her elemental burst, it just connects so well and is really well thought out. I love how energy recharge is the vocal point of her kit because this literally boosts everything about her. Wait, come on guys, if all of this video didn't persuade you, just listen to this. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to also turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any newly released videos. I've been Johnny D, and until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one.